I want to welcome everyone to the fourth meeting of the House Standing Committee on Economic Development and Workforce Investment. I'd like to issue some reminders to members of the audience and the committee before we proceed. First of all, please silence all your cell phones at this time. If someone is interested in testifying, please use the sign-in sheet in the back at the podium. Testimony is within the chair's discretion based on time restraints and information already presented. Due to the staff for this committee needing to be in another committee at 10 o'clock, we will wrap up business here at 9:30 today. So we will have a roll call at that time, no matter at what point we are in discussion on the bill. So just as a reminder, everyone. Members attending remotely, please indicate your location when the Secretary calls the roll. Only members in their annex office or the Capitol campus will be counted as present and allowed to vote on bills. Also want to remind members of the audience, no signs are allowed in committee meeting rooms. I don't think that's an issue today. If any member has a question or comment, please signal to Janine or Sasha. Members attending remotely that have a question or comment, please send a message in Zoom using the chat function. Sasha, would you please call the roll?
Representative Baker. Present. Representative Banta.
Present.
Representative Beckler. Representative Bojanowski.
Present.
Representative Bray. Present. Representative Brown.
Present.
Representative Callaway.
Present in the room.
Representative Cantrell. Representative Freeland.
Present in the room.
Representative Gentry.
Present in the room.
Representative Hart.
Present in the room.
Representative Huff.
Present in the room.
Representative Johnson.
Present in the room.
Representative King.
Present in the room.
Representative Kulkarni. Representative Lawrence. Representative Lockett.
Present in the room.
Representative Rowland. Representative Sharp.
Present in the room.
Representative Sheldon.
Present in the room.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Present in the room.
Representative Truitt.
Present in the room.
Representative Elliott. Chairman Weber.
Present in the room. We do have a quorum and are duly constituted to do business. We have one bill on the agenda today, that is House Bill 500, sponsored by Representative McCoy. Representative McCoy, we know you, but I'm going to ask you for the record to introduce yourself, and after you've done so, you can begin your presentation on House Bill 500.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to everyone, members of the committee. I am Chad McCoy, State Representative for the 50th District, which is all of Nelson County, which includes Bardstown, bourbon capital of the world, trademark. And that's why I'm here. It is my district that is sort of the epicenter of what has gone on with this bourbon explosion that our state has seen. And regardless of what you might think of bourbon, you cannot ignore the economic impact it has on our state. It has become one of our greatest signature industries. It is billions and billions of dollars to our economy. We have more bourbon barrels than we have people. And in my area in particular, the Bourbon Trail and the tourism and visitors we get, we're almost up to 2 million a year now coming through. And so the economic development opportunities that come from that industry are things that I feel like we have got to nurture and encourage and grow. And I'll kind of give you an example. When you think of California, you probably think about wine and wineries, and people go on wine tours and they go and visit these places. Well, right now, California wines are sort of on a downturn, but the tourism business in California and the wineries is holding steady, if not growing. And look, bourbon has been on a tear, and I think that will continue for a while. But the reality is, at some point, it might have a downturn. And when it does, I think it will be important that we've done everything we can up here to get out of the way of the tourism side, the economic development side. Before we start, Mr. Chairman, I do have a committee sub.
All right. So we're good. All those in favor of adopting the committee sub, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Sub is adopted. You may proceed.
Thank you, sir. So what this House Bill 500 does, and I want to be clear, most of it's not new. Most of it is things that are already happening now, and I just want to make a few tweaks for what's happening in my area and what I think can happen. So first and foremost, there's this concept going on right now called barrel picks, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to participate in one or go and see it, but it has become such a draw for our distilleries. In fact, I'm a member of the Bourbon Capital Guild in Bardstown. It's a little bourbon club that you guys can't join because you're not from Bardstown. But we got to partner with Jim Beam, and we got to go check out all the new stuff before everybody else did. You know, Jim Beam, for example, has now created this incredible bourbon tasting area where you go down and get to sample from maybe 5 or 6 different barrels and kind of pick one that you think has the flavor profile you're interested in. And then maybe it's a team of 10 of you. That can be the barrel that you pick. Maker's Mark has 4 different incredible areas to do barrel picks. It worth the tour, even if you're not somebody who imbibes. It's just amazing. They've built this facility out by the lake. So again, we're just bringing people in. It's a really cool thing that we're doing, or they're doing. And unfortunately, there is a question as to whether or not it's legal. There was an interpretation by the ABC that maybe we need to tweak the laws. They're okay with it. They want us to tweak the law. So this is that tweak. This bill will just say you're allowed to do those barrel select events where people come in, sample a few things. You're allowed to then sell those barrels. And here's one of the things we've done. If it's going to an end user consumer, it can just be sold through the gift shop. They can also use, you all were not on L&O, but we did a direct ship bill a couple years ago where it's allowed to be shipped in states that allow that. But the other thing that happens in these barrel picks, in fact, this is probably the largest chunk of them, is restaurants, bars, and retailers like to go do them. So for example, you could go to Liquor Barn and right now buy a barrel select that Liquor Barn has done. So licensees are also doing this. Those kind of sales, again, will continue to happen under this law and will go through the 3-tier system. So that's kind of the first big thing that's out there. The second piece of this bill is it allows for specialty bottles that you can only buy at the gift shop. And again, my focus is having something that your butt has to physically come to the distillery to be able to buy. That's what drives tourism. Don't know, again, come down to Willett in my hometown, and great restaurant, give them a quick plug. But there are people standing in line waiting to see what is going to be released. If we're allowed to do exclusive barrels, that's going to drive those tourists to come every year to get whatever the new bottle is. Same for all of you guys that have craft ones in your industry or in your districts. The third thing, and I got this idea from California. I was traveling out in wine country, and we went to Carmel by the Sea. And the wineries are all over the place, but in the little town of Carmel, all the wineries have a tasting room right on Main Street. And you actually buy like a ticket that gets you 3 tastings at any winery you want to go to. So I keep thinking for Bardstown that, wow, what if other distilleries who unfortunately are not in my area wanted to come and put a tasting shop right there. So what this bill does is it allows a distillery to have one off-site tasting room somewhere other than their distillery. Hopefully they'll pick Bardstown. You guys can fight for your communities. They may show up there too. The last 2 things, distilleries are already allowed to go to fairs and festivals and offer buy the drinks. It's a good way for people to get to experience different products, especially our craft guys. You know, the craft distilling industry is really coming into its own. This change would allow the distilleries to do what the beer and wine guys can already do, and that is buy by the bottle and have samples there. There are limits on the number of bottles that can be purchased, but it just, if there was, for example, in Bardstown, we have the Arts and Crafts Festival. They would be able to set up a booth and do that kind of stuff. And then finally, and this is kind of a weird one, it's just sort of a cleanup, one of the things that's become wildly popular are barrel-aged cocktails. So you make a batch of old fashions and put them in a barrel for a while. And then it's kind of cool. You go to the bar and they serve them out of the barrel. They got a neat taste profile. It turns out that's probably illegal because you're not allowed to serve alcohol other than out of its original container. So I'm clarifying that for by the drink licensees, they are allowed to pre-batch and put them in a barrel with some restrictions. So in a nutshell, that's what the bill does. But you see this room behind me is filled with people. There are none of them here to tell me how great I am or how wonderful this bill is. They are here because they don't like my bill. But they are the other people in the three-tier system. And I just want you guys to think for a minute about the minute quantities I'm talking about here, because you're getting ready to hear a whole bunch of Chicken Little, the sky is falling. And I just ask you listen with a little common sense. They're wonderful people. I love all of them behind me. We work with them on everything. The bourbon industry loves them. We need them. They all need each other, these three tiers in this system. But this is a piece that will grow the pie for everybody. And I just want you to kind of keep that in mind when they're up here talking. So with that, I'll answer any questions, or I can wait till they're done, however you want me to handle it, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Huff, you had a question. Was it for Whit McCoy? Yes. Okay, you may proceed.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for bringing this bill. I think you've already answered my first question. Is it within the realm of the three-tier system? I think you've already indicated that it was.
For barrel picks that are going to go to licensees, where the product is literally going to have to go from the distillery to somebody who's going to resell it and make money off it, that transaction stays 100% within the three-tier system. Now, if it were just me and you, Representative Huff, and we went in to buy our own barrel, and we were just going to take it and give it away as Christmas gifts, that one would not. That could go through the gift shop, just like we could go to the gift shop right now and buy bottles that don't go through the three-tier system. Okay. But that is a very small percentage. Now, the fear for some other folks is, well, that'll become the big percentage. But the reality is these barrel picks are anywhere from 10 to 15 grand. So I don't, unless you want to buy one for me, buddy, I don't know that we're going to be buying many of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. Not trying. I don't know if I hope this doesn't put you on the spot, but
go ahead.
The mixed blend, the barrel aged mixed blends,
barrel aged cocktails.
Yeah, thank you. Is there? I guess the phrase unintended consequences coming into my head. Is there any other possibilities that people would use that change in the statute to do something other than what you intended to do? Do you see a potential there, or is there any issue?
I really honestly don't. So all we've done is define it, first of all, and it's a beverage composed of distilled spirits that have been dispensed from the original sealed container and then added with other drinks, other ingredients. We really just want to make sure this is happening already, Representative Johnson. If you come to Bardstown, there are 2 or 3 distilleries that at their restaurant, they have them up on the thing. There's a barrel-aged Manhattan and a barrel-aged old-fashioned that they just dispense it out of a little thing. I just want to make sure they're not going to get in trouble. I really can't think of anything else somebody could do with it, though. Because you've got to be a by-the-drink license, somebody who's already licensed to sell by the drink.
It's by the drink?
Yeah.
So we can't see someone using that change in the statute to mass-produce these and put them all in the stores, and all of a sudden we have a whole new thing that nobody.
Well, so what you're now talking about is what's called RTDs, ready to drinks. If you go to a liquor store, you can buy a ready to drink gin and tonic, for example. So that kind of already exists under the law.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah,
appreciate the answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, Representative McCoy, we both sit on L&O. Is there a reason why this bill's not in L&O where all the members understand the three-tier system, not only that we have one, that how it works? Is there
Yeah, absolutely. This and really, to me, this is more of a tourism bill. I even talked with Chairwoman King about maybe running it through tourism. We're not really changing anything, Representative Gentry. I know, despite what you're getting ready to hear, that's why I walked you through it. The only real change is on the consumers. We're allowing the barrel picks to go through the gift shop. But everything else is just sort of clarifying what's already done. This is about growing that bourbon trail, getting that pie bigger for everybody, and to me it just falls within the purview of economic development.
Follow-up question, please.
You may.
Thank you. So on page 24, line 6, as you know, we allowed recently the sale of drinks at fairs and festivals, that sort of thing, which I fully supported. Now we are allowing packaged bottles to be sold at these fairs and festivals. Can you tell me what the max or the cap is on that, or how much can a person buy?
Yeah, and so remember this. Right now you can walk into a retailer and buy an unlimited supply. There's no limit on what you can buy at a liquor store. This says, and this was something that came out a few years ago when we did a gift shop agreement with the whole 3-tier system, and the agreed upon quantity limit that we agreed upon then is still this limit, which is 9 liters per person per day.
One more, please.
Sure.
When you have these fairs and festivals, sometimes they can last more than one day, but who buys this quantity of, who would buy 9 liters of alcohol per day at these festivals? I mean, is that common? Or?
I don't have statistics for you, but I'll give you an example. I would invite you, and you can be my guest, to come in September to the Bourbon Festival in downtown Bardstown. And we set up at the Bourbon Festival, every distillery sets up these incredible booths. And at those booths, they have for sale all of the panoply of their products. So a guy walks in from Oakland, California, he's here on a trip, and he walks around and says, you know what, I've never even seen this distillery, gets to sample it and says, holy cow, this stuff's great. Can I get it in my hometown? No. Well, how much can I buy? 9. Here's a to-go box.
Okay, I understand that. I guess my biggest concern, we start going down this slope, how far do we go? I mean, we have a 3-tier system for a reason, even though we have a bill out there right now that is going to blow that up. Hopefully that doesn't come next week. But I'm concerned if we keep giving to the distillers, are we really expanding the sales, or are we just transferring who is making the sales, and are we creating an incentive to control supply to some extent, which raises price? So and what I'm getting at is, first of all, let me say, Representative McCoy, I know you would like to make Bardstown a Sonoma Valley, Napa Valley of bourbon industry. I'm sure every single person here, if they were representing the district that you represent, would do the same thing. I fully understand why you would want to do that, okay? But our districts, most of our districts don't have distilleries, probably never will. We do have retailers, and a lot of them are telling us that we can't keep products on our shelves. We can't, and are we continuing to incentivize distilleries by some of these things that we're doing and expanding on to choke supply to some extent? And I guess that's my only concern.
No, and listen, I appreciate that, and I hear the argument. A couple things to think about. Number one, America is a capitalist place, whether you like that or not. And we don't – have you tried to buy a new car lately or seen the prices of them? I tried to get my kid a Ford Bronco. Ford's right here in our state. I can't buy one. My dealer doesn't have them. Looked in California. They had a couple. When the reality of the world is a product is in limited supply, Unfortunately, not everybody can sell all of it they want. But don't lose sight of economic realities. Why would someone who makes a product want to choke off the ability for someone to sell it? That's why you make a product, is to sell it. So I hear the concern, but I think what we're seeing, and remember, nothing here is changing all the problems we've got right now. I'm not creating anything new. The barrel picks are going on. The supply issues we've got are because of the nature of this product. It takes a minimum of 2, 4 for a good one, 6 to 8 for some of the better ones. It takes a while to make it, and it's a huge investment to make it. There's just not enough out there, and that's a good thing. This will grow the pie for everybody.
I don't want to take up any more time because I know you're always out of time in this committee. But so I would like to talk to you after on a couple of these issues. Would love to.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We've got 2 more questions. Then at 9 o'clock, we're going to allow the individuals who signed up to speak in opposition to have some time. At this time, Representative Bray.
Thank you. So you talked about on the private select barrel picks, if you've got a retailer, they can come in and physically make their selection, and then it has to go to a wholesaler, I guess, so that they can receive the product. And I understand the 3-tier system. What advantage is there of sending that through the wholesaler? It seems like that's just an extra step.
It is an extra step, and it's one that's required by law. When we came out of Prohibition, we created the 3-tier system. One of the arguments, and Charles George will do a nice job answering this question for you, but one of the arguments we hear frequently is, well, that helps ensure the integrity of the product, things like that. I struggle with it. I think the 3-tier system would exist without the laws requiring it because, to be candid with you, the 3-tier system exists for every product. Walmart doesn't make products or ship products. Walmart sells products. They rely on distributors. They rely on manufacturers. That's kind of the nature of the beast. The argument, though, would be that it just helps ensure quality. But you'd have to ask him how. I struggle with that part.
I'm not, alcohol's not my strong suit or forte. It just seems to me like that's it makes it a more expensive product.
Right.
But thank you.
Representative Truitt.
One of my questions were already answered, but I'm not familiar with the Bourbon Trail. I've never been on the Bourbon Trail. Explain to me a little bit about what these satellite centers might look like. What do you vision that to look like? Because I'm trying to figure out what that would.
Absolutely. So really, what if you go to a distillery now? And it sounds like you haven't been to one. I encourage you to go. They're pretty cool. They're going to have a gift shop. And when you walk into the gift shop, what they'll have for sale is a bunch of swag, fun T-shirts with funny logos on them and coasters and keychains and all that sort of stuff. But they'll also have their products for sale. With the passage of this bill, they might also have a bottle that you can only get right there at that gift shop. They are also allowed at those gift shops to have a buy the drink and buy the bottle sales. So it would just be that exactly. It would be a gift shop where you could walk in, and we kind of have them in downtown Bardstown already. If you come downtown and walk, you'll see some of the distilleries have got places set up. But what they've had to do is actually buy a retail license. There are places in the state where you can't get a retail license. So I'm just trying to allow everybody, including some of our craft guys, the ability to come open up one of their gift shops, anywhere else they want, as long as it's a wet county. Obviously, it doesn't change any of that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Representative Truitt, I would tell you that the start of the Bourbon Trail begins in Bullitt County. you are welcome to come off to Jim Beam off Highway 245. All right. We have our last question will be from Representative Sheldon.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. Just double checking on this one unit that you're going to allow these guys to have.
Yeah.
Like one testing room. Are you going to allow them to have other owners of that unit, or do they have to own the unit and be responsible for it?
It would be a privilege of their license. So they're already strictly licensed. It's just an add-on to that.
Extension
Yes,
of,
sir.
of that. Okay, good deal. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That includes all of our questions for Representative McCoy. We will let you come back and have a few minutes to respond if there's anything you need to at the end. At this time, I would ask Eric Hall and Adam Blau, if you'll come forward. We're looking at about 10 minutes for you guys, if you can present to us. If you can, please each of you introduce yourself for the record, and after you've done that, go ahead and begin your testimony to the committee.
My name is Eric Hall, and I own packaged liquor stores in Cave City, Campbellsville, and Radcliffe.
My name is Adam Blau. Is this on? Can you hear me? All right, there you go. My name is Adam Blau. I'm from Fort Thomas, Kentucky, and own a retail store in Independence, Kentucky.
Chairman Weber and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this bill. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a few comments on it, and I also appreciate Representative McCoy proposing to fix the private barrel selection problem that we do have. However, members of the Kentucky Association of Beverage Retailers and myself cannot support House Bill 500 because it goes much further than just fixing the barrel selection problem. We have not seen the committee sub, so I do not know what's been fixed or changed, so I'm going to comment on the bill as it was yesterday. Kentucky bourbon is our signature industry, but right now we have a terrible time getting products for our customers. I'm not just talking about hard to get or allocated bottles. I'm talking about everyday Kentucky bourbons that have been staple products on our shelves for years. This problem exists for both big and small stores. It's a problem for all of us in this industry. Our customers are frustrated, and we are frustrated too. In fact, some of them have resorted to traveling out of state to get bourbons that used to be available regularly here in Kentucky. Our customers and your constituents should not have to line up at a distillery gift shop at 6 a.m., cross the border in another state, or join an online club to buy a special bottle of Kentucky bourbon. They want to support local businesses, and we want to sell the products that are in demand. House Bill 500 does not support Kentucky tourism when it allows someone in Washington state to go online, request barrel samples, select those barrels from their couch, and have them bottled and shipped to their door, all without stepping foot in Kentucky or visiting a single distillery. It can take a retailer 2, 3, or even 5 years to get on a list to select a barrel from certain distilleries, and I can't imagine what the wait time is going to go to when we open up the selections for everyone out there with a mouse and keyboard. And this bill allows the distillery to also take their most sought-after bourbons and sell them exclusively at their gift shops in Kentucky, cutting out Kentucky retailers, but then send them out of state to other package stores and restaurants. And I recognize that Senate Bill 160 is not before this committee today, but all sides of our industry support Senate Bill 160 as a way to codify into law the status quo process for private barrel selections. It fixes the immediate problem, but does not include added privileges for distilleries that will further hurt retailers and inconvenience our customers. Thank you for your time this morning.
All right, thank you. Chairman Weber and members of the committee, I once again thank you for being here to hear our side of this. So I won't repeat too much of what you heard from Eric, but except echo his comments about the ongoing problem of getting Kentucky bourbon for our customers. I know allocated bourbons like Pappy and Old Forester Birthday are hard to get, especially for a small retailer like me. But I would never have imagined that I would have empty shelves where I usually stock Kentucky Tavern, Old Crow, H&H, Jim Beam, and Woodford products, to name a few. So we hear the distilleries say they want Kentucky to remain the bourbon capital of the world. But how do we do that when you have empty shelves and Kentuckians can't buy the bourbon that we love at our local stores? I have made reusable signs to put up in these spots to make sure that they know that I apologize for the lack of product we have on those shelves. Some of the other changes this bill makes would allow distilleries to sell a case of bourbon to each customer at fairs and farmers markets, and it would allow a distillery to open a satellite store and block it from my store to sell bourbon that I cannot even get. I mean, if a customer thinks they can't get that bourbon at my store and only at these locations, it stops them from coming into my store and doesn't give me a chance to sell anything at all to them because I missed that opportunity. We've heard these distilleries talk about other states allowing sales at fairs, festivals, and allowing them to sell bottles exclusively at their gift stores. But what we found is most of these states only allow for small craft distilleries. We have told the Distillery Association for years that if they want to talk about special privileges for small distilleries to be able to grow like theirs, like how the small farm wineries have privileges that large wineries don't, or microbrewery privileges that are given the two large breweries, we have been open to that discussion. They have repeatedly said that they won't agree to craft distilleries having privileges not also given to these mega distilleries. While we appreciate Representative McCoy changing the bill to allow only one satellite store per distillery, no good deed goes unpunished. While I appreciate everything he is trying to do for those people, every good deed he does for them takes away from us tenfold and from the local community from what we do around us by not allowing us to have these products. Additional privileges like these for distilleries will only make it harder for us to get inventory and will prevent our customer from shopping local. I understand that it is their bourbon and they want to make as much money as possible, but my business is totally dependent on what our producer will allow me to buy because I am not allowed to distill my own bourbon. Several years ago, we did not oppose distilleries being able to increase how much they can sell to each customer because we were told that by the time the new quantity limit went into effect, there would be a supply for everybody. That is not what has happened, and the bill will make it worse. For your local retailers and our customers that are your constituents, I ask that you vote no on House Bill 500, and so your customers can shop local and not be forced to drive to the distillery across the border. Instead, please support Senate Bill 160 to fix the barrel selection. I do want to remind you, as everybody knows, we touch 7 states. The retails grew this bourbon business. We are the ones that really have pushed it for years, along with our restaurants. And when you take the bottles out of our hands that drive people to our stores that they want, it shuts down these ones that are trying to grow. It really causes more damage than good. And I think we've allowed a lot of access to alcohol from outside of here very easily. And we'd be mindful that those acts have just taken place. We haven't let the dust settle, and we need to be wary of driving this too fast so it doesn't really hurt us in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to have Charles George and Casey Klein. If you will come forward after you've finished, if we've got members that have some questions, we'll get to those. But please introduce, both of you, if you'll introduce yourselves for the record, and then after you've done so, go ahead and begin your testimony.
Yes, there we go. Yes, I'm Charles George, Executive Director for the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of Kentucky.
Good morning. I'm Casey Klein. I'm the Director of Portfolio Management for Republic National Distributing Company of Kentucky.
Thank you, Chairman Weber. Appreciate it. Usually I'm saying Chairman Koenig, as Representative Gentry said. As I told Representative McCoy earlier, I don't understand why he got you all up so early to come out here and hear a bad alcohol bill. But I was born in Bardstown, so hopefully that saves me. Representative McCoy, we greatly appreciate working with him on a number of issues. And in fact, I told him earlier there are a couple of other alcohol bills that he's filed that we support. And so and this bill initially was even broader than the bill that you see before you today. Now, again, I don't know what's in the committee sub, but I do appreciate him making some changes that we requested. But we still think this bill goes too far, as the retailers indicated. Representative Bray, you mentioned the 3-tier system, the necessity of a wholesaler. I'm going to turn it over to Casey to kind of give you a little bit of synopsis. What the heck does a wine and spirits wholesaler do? And then I'll get back and talk a little bit about the bill.
Sure. Thank you, Charles. Good morning, everyone. Members of the committee, I do appreciate you allowing me to give you a brief glimpse into the wholesale network and what a wholesaler does in the 3-tier system. As been noted in a couple conversations already, there is sometimes confusion around what our tier provides to the market, both with our supplier tier as well as our retail tier. So I'll take a minute or two to give you a brief synopsis. So from a 30,000 foot view, our role is pretty basic. We serve as a brand building and product expert liaison between our suppliers and those who sell beverage alcohol, mainly our retailers, restaurateurs. In many cases, our teams are the sole face of brands in the market. Diving a little deeper, for our suppliers, we provide a 360 resource. Brand development, route to market strategies through collaboration with sales, marketing, finance, and category management. We provide them expertise that might not exist already in their companies, as well as unique business insights as it relates to the dynamics of the market, specifically at a state level and brand and category levels. As I mentioned, we are the beverage experts in the market. Our teams work really hard to develop certification, educate themselves, educate members of our tiers, so that between our supplier tier and our retailer tier, we are providing the best service we can to engage consumers and ultimately to grow our suppliers' products. We also provide a similar role to our customer tier, which is our retailers and our restaurateurs. As many of them would tell you, it is our staffs who work with them to find opportunities in their stores, better ways to engage their consumers, engagement of their consumers, developing drink strategies, staff education, beverage programs, ultimately helping them make more money and becoming more credible in the market. So that's why we're uniquely positioned in the middle. We provide resources in both directions. From a new product, and we talked about some innovation and new product standpoint, from a new product standpoint, the wholesaler is the one who drives the initial drive to the market of all new products. I personally have launched thousands of brands in my time, from craft gins to craft vodkas to moonshine to bourbons, and we work with them closely to provide them scale that otherwise they couldn't provide themselves. Many of our suppliers don't have someone who actually exists in the state of Kentucky. So we are their sales resource, we are their marketing resource, we are their finance resource. We are the ones who ensure that their products are being delivered and presented to retailers, to restaurateurs, to hotels, to the tracks, to caterers, you name it. Over 4,000 licensees in the state of Kentucky. And as it goes to engagement of consumers and product availability, in the beverage or snack world, there is no more diverse portfolio than what is provided through the wholesale tier in beverage alcohol. In R&DC's warehouse alone, my team manages over 10,000 individual SKUs in-house. If you look at any other beverage category, non-alcoholic, energy, snacks, foods, those are dominated by 3 or 4 top players, and entry into those categories is almost impossible. We as a wholesaler provide you entry into the category. And then I would be remiss not to discuss key elements of some of what we're discussing today, which is our thriving bourbon industry. We personally take great pride in representing our local spirit and the success the bourbon segment has enjoyed. As I mentioned, I've personally launched hundreds of bourbons, and as recent as yesterday afternoon was in conversations with more. At the time, to put in perspective, many of them are completely unknown to the market. I have great success stories around friends who have called me and said, hey, I've got a brand idea or I've got a bourbon. Would you be interested in helping me take it to the market? One of my good friends in Harrisburg area, Dixon Dedman, called me one day and said, I've got this brand. I want to revive my family's legacy brand that was taken at Prohibition, and would you help me develop that brand? And if you're not familiar with that product, it's called Kentucky Owl, and he was incredibly successful and was fortunate enough that somebody wanted to take a stake in his product and has created a great success. That started on the backs of the wholesalers. To take it further, as Eric and Adam pointed to, we then rely on that retail tier. That retail tier is incredibly important because they are ultimately the ones who are engaging our consumers, driving products to the consumers, and ensuring that we have a diverse portfolio of brands available to you in the state of Kentucky, and that we've got a system of checks and balances that ensures that it's done with a proper tax collection, which is all handled at the wholesale tier. There was a question about barrels, for example. One of the functions of the wholesale tier is we collect both the state excise taxes and ad valorem taxes, which we then pay on a monthly basis to the state to ensure that the correct taxation is covered. That is not handled by the supplier tier. Retailers pay localized taxes, as we do localized taxes as well in what we sell to them. But as I mentioned with bourbons and such, so, you know, through a lot of people's hard work, engagement, and brand development, we're fortunate to say many of the bourbons that we're discussing today have grown to where their supply outweighs, or their demand outweighs their supply. And while a pain point in the market is, as Eric and Adam alluded to, it's a huge success story as well. So at the very root, we have a vested interest in developing our tourism business. We're active in the tourism business. I personally serve on the board of the Louisville Hotel Association. I previously served on the board of the Bluegrass Hospitality Association, which drives tourism in central Kentucky. We have a vested interest in doing the right thing by developing tourism, by doing the right thing with our bourbon suppliers and our retailers. And I think all three tiers play an important role. So with that, I'll wrap up, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to provide a little snippet into the role of the wholesaler. And I would welcome, if you ever have an opportunity or you have any additional interest, we would welcome the opportunity to walk you through, invite you to RNDC or one of our partner wholesalers, and further explain what we do and actually show you what we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk a little bit more on the bill, if that's okay, Chairman.
You've got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you,
thank you.
Based on our time.
Okay, I appreciate that. In regards to the barrel pick issue, Representative McCoy is correct that this bill does maintain the three-tier system for those retail picks. However, for a consumer pick, it would go well outside the bounds right now of what the quantity limits exist in Kentucky for a gift shop sale, which is 1 case. So this would allow unlimited barrels to be sold direct to consumers. Now, most of the time, it's not just 1 or 2 people buying a barrel because, as he mentioned, they're quite expensive, right? So these are bourbon clubs, they're corporations, it may be a law firm, an accounting firm, whomever it may be. There are people out there with some pretty big buying power. And I would point out that the barrel pick provision itself would do nothing to drive tourism. Because we already have barrel picks that exist today. They work well. This was never an issue until the ABC issued its opinion. No one had ever mentioned barrel picks being an issue, the process, or anything about it, because consumers could find a local retailer. The process worked very well. And also, alcohol is regulated on a state-by-state basis. Love it or hate it, we have the 21st Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which puts alcohol regulation to the states. What does that mean? That means that individual states regulate how much alcohol can cross their borders, okay? All of our surrounding states have what are called personal importation limits. You cannot cross, how much is enforced can vary state to state, but you're not technically allowed to cross the borders. For example, in Ohio, you're not allowed to bring more than 1 liter of liquor across the border. Obviously, with a barrel pick, you're talking about 150 to 250 bottles. So it's a large quantity of product that if somebody from a surrounding state were to drive into Kentucky, they wouldn't legally be able to cross that border back to take that product. So how does that happen now? It goes through the three-tier system in that state. That's what is required. When it comes to shipping, there are very, very few states that allow direct-to-consumer shipments of spirits. We passed it a couple years ago here. 21 states considered it last year, and they all rejected it. There is one state in California that it looks like a bill is moving there to allow DTC of spirits. Their DTC spirits bill would be limited to craft distillers only, and it's an annual limit right now in that bill of 36 liters. So again, would not capture the amount of quantity that's in a barrel of bourbon. And so the barrel, I understand some of the other some of the other priorities in the bill, but when we're talking about the barrel pick issue itself, it has absolutely nothing to do with tourism. The other pieces, yes, you could probably argue they do. But that piece alone does not. And when we're talking about economic development and workforce, we have a workforce in Kentucky too. Wholesalers and distributors employ upwards of 2,500 people across the state at an average annual wage of $80,000 a year. We've got good jobs. We retain employees. We treat them right. We've got retailers employ another probably 13,000 people in this state. RNDC is investing $55 million in a facility right now. It's being built as we speak in Louisville, Kentucky. So we are also invested in this community. I personally love the bourbon industry. Love it. I grew up around it. Just this past Saturday, I took bourbon tours. Felt it on Sunday, but I enjoyed it. I had some batch cocktails. We support that provision. So there's a lot we love the bourbon industry, fully support it, but sometimes things can go too far. We believe this bill simply goes too far. Now, I'm more than willing to sit down with Representative McCoy. I'm more than willing to sit down. I've had discussions with the Kentucky Distillers Association. We'll continue to have those conversations. We're always willing to have dialogue. But as it stands today, we believe this bill simply goes too far.
Thank you, gentlemen. I don't see any questions for any of the four that presented. So thank you all for being here and presenting your points. Representative McCoy, I'm going to give you a few minutes here. If there's anything you need to address, you may do that, and then we're going to have. So we have a motion by Representative Huff, a second by Representative Banta. So do you feel compelled to talk?
No, sir.
All right. At this time, we have a motion and a second on House Bill 500 as amended by Committee Substitute 1. Sasha, please call the roll. All right. Go ahead and call the roll, Sasha.
Representative Baker?
No.
Representative Banta?
No.
Representative Beckler? Representative Bojanowski?
Yes.
Representative Bray?
Yes.
Representative Brown?
I'll vote yes for now, but I'll reserve to hear the discussion on the floor.
Representative Callaway?
No.
Representative Cantrell? Representative Elliott?
May I briefly explain, Mr. Chairman? I vote aye.
You may.
I think you're trying to move this forward in a way that promotes economic development. I appreciate the way you distilled the argument down to, I guess I'd say my level, because I don't see a lot of alcohol bills in committee in a way that I could understand it. So I'm going to vote yes to move it forward and continue to talk to folks and review it. But what you're trying to do makes sense to me. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Representative Freeland?
Yeah. Yes.
Representative Gentry?
Explain my vote, please.
You may.
I'm going to pass today. There's some things in here that I support, need to be done. I think there's another bill in the Senate that does that and doesn't go as far as this bill does. And so I'm going to pass today, and I think this bill's in the wrong committee, but I'll keep it at that. Thanks.
Representative Hart?
I'm a yes vote, but I want to keep the conversation going and keep it moving forward. But I do reserve the right, if things change, to be no on the floor.
Representative Huff?
Well, I'm a co-sponsor on the bill, so I'll vote yes.
Representative Johnson?
Explain my vote.
Yes, you may.
So I'm along the same lines of I want to move this forward, have additional conversations about it. We've had many conversations, as you know. A little concerned about the distribution process of it, but I also know that for my district, this is a good thing. So let's move it forward, keep talking, see where we get to on the floor. I'm a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative King?
No, ma'am.
Representative Kulkarni?
Yes.
Representative Lawrence? Representative Lockett?
Explain my vote, please.
You may.
For now, I'm going to vote yes, but I would love to see the bill sponsors, plural, and the retailers actually get on the same page on this. So I don't know how that happens. I don't know enough about it really to know how that operates, but I would love to see a floor amendment that both support Thank you.
Representative Rowland,
Yes.
Representative Sharp,
Explain my vote.
You may.
I'm going to go ahead and vote yes to move this along, but I too would also like to see something on the floor. Get everybody on the same sheet of music.
Representative Sheldon,
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty,
Explain my vote.
You may.
I do have some concerns about this bill. I am a no today. I do appreciate, I will say that my knowledge as to this industry is rather limited, and I appreciate that you tried to explain it, but I just don't feel like I have a good grasp on this at this time. So today I'm a no. Thank you.
Representative Truitt,
Briefly speak on my vote.
You may.
Currently, I'm going to pass on this bill. Like some of the other representatives stated, this is new to me a little bit. I do promote economic development. I do promote tourism. I'm just not sure if this is actually a bill that would help in either one of those. So I need to do a little more research on that. So currently, or right now, I'm going to pass.
Chairman Weber.
Yes. House Bill 500 passes with favorable expression. We do have a title amendment. Can I get a motion on the title amendment? Representative Bray, second by Representative Huff. All those in favor of the title amendment say aye. Any opposed, no. Title amendment is adopted. At this time, seeing no further business before this committee, do I have a motion to adjourn?